another episode of Beautiful Subconscious. Today I am extremely excited to introduce this guest. He is so very special to me, but just what he does and what he represents is something that is very much needed in this world, and women, you are going to love hearing from him. So let me introduce you to Curtis. He's a powerhouse in leadership and human potential. Drawing from his time as an infantry captain in the Australian Army, Curtis brings the discipline, camaraderie, and mental fortitude that creates elite-level leaders. Through his unique blend of military-style immersions, intensive command masterminding, and cutting-edge leadership psychology, he works with business leaders to elevate them to a whole new playing field. Curtis knows that strong, effective leadership ripples out, impacting not just the businesses, but the lives of the men and the families and the communities that they're here to serve. So his mission is simple yet profound: create better leaders, build better men, and leave a lasting impact on society. He has bootstrapped his own business from 0 to 7 figures in just 12 months. And Curtis does not just talk about success, he embodies it. And he really, truly does. From the moment I met him, he oozes it. So I'm so excited to talk to you today and have you on here, Curtis. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Michelle. That was what an intro, hey?
I know. Well, you deserve all the intros because you are just absolutely phenomenal, and I can't wait to share your insights and your energy on the beautiful subconscious, especially with the topic that we are going to be touching on today, which is leading with vulnerability, how strong men create space for women to soften and thrive. So I feel like we have talked about this off air many a times when we get together, and I am just like, we need to do a podcast episode on this. So I'm super, super, super pumped.
Can't wait. Let's dive into it.
Yeah. Well, firstly, before we get it going, we always pull a card. And I know you and I have pulled cards before.
Yep, let's do it. Let's go.
So you just let me know when you're getting pulled for me to stop, and that will be the card.
Stop.
Okay. Oh, I am divinely beautiful and uniquely me.
that is the theme of today. Yeah, this is
right.
Very effective.
Always is. Every card that we pull, no matter what episode that we're recording, I'm like, is that not relevant? Like, that is the most, it's profound how much it just ties in. So I love this. So can you please give us an intro on how you got into this work?
Great question. All right. I thought it would have been only my years transitioning out of the military in 2018, but I think, to give it context, it actually started from childhood, from when I decided to look into why I actually do what I do. So when my parents split when I was young, about 6, so I didn't have that healthy masculine role model to help me that transition boyhood into manhood and to ultimately know what it was to be a man. So my beautiful mother did the best she could doing both roles, and until my stepfather came into the picture. And so I was naturally then pushed towards a position of becoming what I now realize in hindsight, the polar opposite of what my dad was, with the support of my mum helping me become that young man. And so I then saw myself then infatuated with the idea of becoming as masculine as possible through sport, but then also what I saw in the movies, which was to join the military. So at the age of 18, I went to the Royal Military College, Duntroon, and I wanted to become an officer. I graduated from the college at 20 and I took over my first platoon. And as I took over my first platoon at 20, these men were nearly double my age, late 30s, early 40s, and they just got back from a deployment from Afghanistan. So I had to learn really quickly what it was to be a leader of men and to be the commander, the warrior, the person in charge. And that was a steep learning curve. And I matured a lot quicker in my years than probably what I would have if I wasn't in the military. And so I had a really good career going through the military as an officer. And I was in a relationship at the time and I was getting engaged. So I was getting married when I returned from my deployment in 2016. And I unconsciously, which I didn't know at the time, but now why I do the work, is I repeated the same behavior and the same patterns that my dad did that made him then lose his relationship with my dad, with my mum. So I lost absolutely everything. And then that then turned into the party scene that I think a lot of men fall into: drugs, alcohol, 3-4 nights a week for almost 2 years. And I was doing absolutely everything I could to suppress and sedate myself from the shame, the guilt, the hurt, the sadness, and really just the disgust that I had of who I had become from that separation, but also through my journey up until now. And I was like, okay, something has to change, something has to give. And when I was in the military, I wanted to find a way out, and my way out was to look at business. And that's when I then went down the road of doing the normal life coaching certifications like NLP, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy. And I saw an opportunity to continue to serve and help others, but a way to then monetize it and then transition out. So I did that. And that was when my breakthrough started to occur, when I began to learn what it was about the subconscious and what it was to learn about how the mind works, what we do, why we do it, where it comes from. We're creatures of habit and patterns and everything like that. Mm-hmm. But then I went down this direction of understanding that to do that and to succeed in coaching, you have to then learn marketing and selling. And you also then have to be able to learn how to build systems and processes, because as we live in a digital world, we need to be able to do that to connect with more people. Mm-hmm. So I then self-taught through YouTube and everything I possibly could find online on how to run Facebook ads, how to build automation between Calendly and Zapier and all these different elements back then. But Go High Level obviously is the marketing CRM that I use now. Mm-hmm. And I was just gobsmacked with how much information you need to obtain to succeed in business, especially as an online coach. For all of the people that I did my certifications with in my cohort at the time, they all went back to jobs because they failed in the business within the first year because they didn't learn these skills. So I took that and used it for my own business. But then I saw all of my friends who ran service-based businesses back in Newcastle struggle generating leads, struggle to sell, and struggle to build automation to gain back their time. So that's when I was like, all right, well, do you want help with that? And then I started a digital agency, started running marketing automation for small businesses. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I can help people gain back their time. I can also make, a solid wage. It was like, I think $90,000 at the best that I did since transitioning out of the army. But I was so unfulfilled. And I just knew that there was this itch that I couldn't scratch with business, because I knew that there was something greater out there for me. I knew there was something that was more, and I wanted to be more and have more, but I was coasting. I was settling. I wasn't truly pushing the envelope in my capacity in business, in my health and fitness journey, in my life. And it wasn't until a mentor of mine at the time, when I had my first phone consult with him, he challenged me massively on what I was doing, but what I had previously done in the military. And when he found out that I was a captain, when he found out that I was deployed, when he found out how young I was, he was like, what are you doing? Do you understand how many men in society need your leadership? How many men are struggling within the battle in their own mind, but also the consequences of a man not being a man in a relationship? How many women and children are suffering? Oof. And he said to me, if you could wave a magic wand and you didn't have to worry about time and money, and you could do whatever you wanted to do, what would it be? And I said, I would run military style immersion events for men to break them down and to help rebuild them into a better leader, so their business and their family can not just survive, but can thrive. And when I said that, it was this weird, overwhelming, like, feeling of permission when he's like, do that. And I had these like full body goosebumps of like, oh my God, what do I do now? And he's like, do you want help with that? And so then I committed to working with him for the next 12 months, and he helped me then launch this for what we now run, which are these immersions. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't on the base of me wanting to do something great and me wanting to succeed and make a lot of money. It was actually coming from a wound. It was actually coming from trauma. And I believe that every successful person who makes it big has something dark that they have then turned into light, turned into greatness.
I agree.
And with their mess becoming their message, they transmute all of that pain and suffering and hurt and everything else into something that they can help other people to get the result faster with less stress and less, challenges in their relationships or in their business. So that ultimately was why I started what I had started. And over the last 2 years, it's been a wild journey.
Yes.
It's been a crazy journey. Crazy journey. Yeah. So that's how I got into the work.
It's the most profound story. And from the moment I met you and you, shared that with me, I'm just like, holy shit, this is going to be big. This is like so needed. And I'm so grateful for you putting your hand up and doing that and being the leader to do that, because as a woman, and the modern day type of women that we all are now, it's just like we feel like we have to do it all, or we have to be up there with having a job, running the household. And I know the women that appeal to the work that I do and come across this podcast, they're hyper independent, they're hyper in control, but yet they don't want to be, and they want to have someone to lead them, but then they just don't know how to be led at the same time. So there is this conundrum, if I've said that word right, and it's just like, how do we get out of this cycle? So in your opinion, what's needed in that regard, I guess, for women, and your opinion on that with women like that?
I don't think it comes down to the women needing to do something. I think it's both the men and the women need to be doing it together, to do the work together, which we're too busy pointing the finger at one another.
Yeah.
Because I'm focusing so much of poking the bear and pointing the finger at men.
Yeah.
Because they're my target market that I want to help.
Sure.
As for me, as a traditional family unit, as a man, I believe that they are the head of the snake that is meant to provide the directionality for the family. However, the feminine is everything internal that actually creates everything. The man is the one that's providing the direction. And like you just said before, the unfortunate reality of life and society at the moment and the pressure that we're all under, women have to become more masculine to survive. They do. It's this whole push of rising costs and inflation and the pressure that all families are experiencing. Both the men and the women now have to be working, not because they want to, but because they must. And so it's unfortunately putting a lot of pressure on both men and women. And when they're both stressed, and they're both not living in their true purpose or their true innate being of the feminine, the masculine energy centers that they are, then that's when we're starting to see this whole depolarized family relationship dynamic, which is what's pushing then women to guard themselves because they're continuously getting hurt because they're in positions where they're not with a man who is masculine because of what he's then been taught to then actually want to get attention and love and connection and significance from the woman because of his upbringing and his childhood. So I think it's not to say what do women need to do and it's what do both of us need to do. But if you're going to ask me that question and probe me on this one, because I know you are. Chicken, egg, cart, the horse, which one comes first? I've always been told that wherever the feminine goes, the masculine will follow. And for me, that is a really hard message to get across to women, to realize that it's the softness in their approach energetically amongst a man that allows him the space to actually rise and step up, to be the leader in that relationship dynamic. However, the question then comes up with women of how long do I give him to see evidence that he can do it? How much consistency do I need to see before I soften and trust that he has me? But also, where do I find those type of men? And women will reach out and be like, where are the type of men that you talk about in your content? And it's like, we exist. They exist out there. However, I think the dark part of that statement is, are we actually out there looking for a woman, or are we so driven in our purpose and in our mission that is what true masculinity is, that we're not out there seeking for a woman, we're out there seeking to stay on our path of our mission. And it's then in that approach or that pursuit of our goals that then we would find then someone along the way that then brings in the softness of what we need in our life, because the last thing I think a man wants is more stress. I think if you're talking to women on this channel and your clients and they are burnt out and they're stressed and they're under pressure, then they're experiencing what the masculine in a man also experiences in the modern world in society in a job. So they're actually getting firsthand the experience of what men have been experiencing all the time. And now they've stepped into that role, which means the familiarity of the job description of a provider, they understand. And what I believe that a lot of shifts are occurring at the moment is women, I think, have been taught what to expect from a man, but not how to communicate to a man. And then a lot of men are being taught on what a woman expects from them, but not what they should expect from themselves.
Oof.
And I think that's like, what does it mean to be a man? We're not taught that. It's more like, well, what do you need to be to have a woman or to give to a woman? And I think there needs to be that paradigm shift for a lot of people, because I just think we're speaking two different languages, and we need to learn from one another. And I think, what do women need to do if you're suggesting that they're in their masculine? Oh,
yeah. Tell us, Curtis.
This is so controversial.
Go there.
Okay. This is a vulnerable statement, because this is leading with vulnerability, like you said at the start.
That's what this is about.
So if you are a masculine woman and you are wanting to call in a masculine man, there needs to be a discussion around what you need to do in your day that would allow you to bring softness to your own life energetically for them to be attracted to that. I think what we're seeing at the moment with women is they're trying to meet us as a peer. They're trying to meet us at our level in terms of our energy, but then we just look at you as a peer or a mate. And we're not wanting to friend zone women. We're wanting to seek a partner that can be alongside us, that has the capacity to hold on to their own masculine pole, where they can rely on themselves when things get tough, or when the man isn't around, or when they're in pursuit of their own ambitions and their own passions. But as soon as the man is then present, they want to feel like they are needed. Men need to feel like there's an actual need for me in this place and in this point in time, because if not, I'll find somewhere where I do believe that I am needed, or that I am worthy of your time, or I have of service. If we're all about contribution and we're all about protecting and providing from the masculine, then who are we protecting? Why are we protecting them? What are we getting back from protecting them? And is there any capacity for me to provide? And I think the one thing I landed on only recently, Michelle, was the modern world of masculinity is so challenging at the moment because of how fast things are shifting with business, AI, making money online, and this whole rise of the modern feminist of not needing a man, but deep down we're wanting a man, but we're also, from as a woman's perspective, speaking from fear and wounding, not from a place of love, right? So when I thought about that, I was like, okay, what then needs to shift? And it's like, well, if a woman doesn't need a man, but they want a man, then back in the day, they would have needed a man for financial stability and security because of the way that we were back in society. The structure was there. Now that it's not there, what women are actually truly deep down wanting, that I don't think they know how to vocalize, and what men need to understand more about with women, is we need to be able to provide them emotional safety. And emotional security. Yeah. Because if we're not going to have to turn up to the relationship, say, here's a multiple 6-figure, 7-figure business. I'll take care of you. You can do whatever you want. Go swim under the waterfalls and paint and dance and draw. Do whatever you want. Take care of the kids and just live your life and enjoy it. If that's not what we're optimizing our relationships for, and some I believe are still very traditional that way, then if we're not needed to provide that financial security, then what are we providing? And I think that is the missing link, is that if it's not financial, then it's physical and it's emotional. And if we're looking at that sort of as a 3 triad of what they need, financial, emotional, and physical, if we understand that and move forward, then every person in the dating world can recognize that there may be a man or a woman that is in a different level of financial success, but that doesn't then weigh up anywhere near the same amount of what they do or what they say or how they make you feel emotionally in terms of safety. And I think that's a conversation that needs to be discussed more for men to realize that it's no longer looking sexy that they care about. It is, but it's not the main priority. And it's also not necessarily for you to then say, here's all the money, do whatever you want with it. It's do I feel safe enough to feel my emotions with this man in its entirety? Can I truly actually express what I'm feeling? Because I actually don't know why I'm feeling what I feel and I can't process my own problem, but I don't want him to fix it. I want him just to hold me in it and allow me just to be the wild feminine woman that I truly am deep down. And is he going to stand there and stand his ground, or is he going to flee and be someone that I can't trust emotionally, that I have to then put my wall up and my shield up because, well, that's the only thing that I can rely on. And that hyper independence is then starting to fester, and then it starts to get tiring because you're carrying everything on your back as the woman when you want to then take that burden, you want to share it with someone, which is what we all deep down want, is to share it with someone. We want to share life with someone.
Hello, lovely listeners. Our Total Life Transformation Program is live. If you feel stuck in your health, career, relationships, or money, this is the chance for a complete revamp. Over 6 months, you'll experience powerful changes that will transform every part of your life. With the guidance of 5 specialists, so yours truly, a kinesiologist, money mentor, functional health practitioner, career advisor, and our relationship coach, we address 4 key life pillars: your health, your career, your money, and your relationships. One investment shifts you from feeling low-key unfulfilled to fully energized and inspired in every area of your life. Health. If stress, emotional baggage, or unhealthy habits drain you, we will help release what's in your subconscious and create a personalized nutrition and supplement plan to reset your energy and health. Career. If you feel lost or stuck in your career, our kinesiologist and career mentor provide clarity, confidence, and an action plan to move forward with purpose. Money. If scarcity or fear around money keeps you stuck, we heal your financial blueprint. With our money mentor, you will gain practical strategies to confidently manage your finances for life. And relationships. If disconnection in your relationships leave you feeling unseen, we heal emotional wounds, leading to deeper connection, trust, and love. Now it's time to create your extraordinary life. So book your clarity call now for our Total Life Transformation Program, because it is live and waiting for you. Oh, I love that. You touched on so many things that I could listen to it all day, but you are absolutely right. I think where it's at now, and especially for women, it's like we're in this world now where we are making money and we aren't feeling like our safety physically is under threat because, we're not back in the day where we're being protected by the tribe. So it is that emotional safety. And I think women want to feel that they can share their most ugliest, most deepest, most raw parts of who they are, but they're not going to be able to be held in that space. And I think a lot of the women that come to me, they're just like, well, yeah, like I have my girlfriends for that then, but I'm also carrying the burdens of financial support and doing everything around the house, that there is this build up of resentment of I want him to show up in this particular way. And maybe it's the way that it's communicated. Maybe it's always coming out of frustration and, not doing enough and nagging and we get to that point and, I'm totally can put my hand up for that at times too, for sure. But I just think where moving forward then, how are you, what's needed in that space for the men to learn maybe emotional support or
correct. It's not necessary. And then this is then a conversation switch away from what does the woman need to do? It's more like, okay, what do we both need to do? And if it was to be targeted to the women who have partners in this, that'll listen to this, I've only recently been speaking to this quite actively in my mastermind community. And one of the men had been having a challenge at home for the last 2 years. They run a $20 million company together, very successful. She does the books, she does the office work, he does the work, the groundwork. And he said, I'm having issues not necessarily in the business, but my personal life and family life is now impacting our livelihood because we're not doing our job in the business anymore, because we're not talking, we're not sleeping in the same bed, we're not intimate, we don't spend quality time, all these things that are so easily amendable if you just do the work. And when I talk about doing the work, the biggest thing that we were talking about was, I said, what is she missing and what does she need? And he said, she always comes to me and she wants to sit down, she wants to talk about how she's feeling, and she wants to express what's coming up for her, And I'm like, okay, do you do that? And I said, oh, well, occasionally. I was like, okay, one, that's the first thing, is it's not occasionally, it's all the time. They need to feel seen, heard, understood all the time, which means consistent attention, consistent focus, consistent support all the time, consistent love all the time. But it's then in that conversation, the one thing that rung true for me when he said it was there was a light bulb moment for him, was when she comes to him with a problem, or when she comes to him with how she was feeling, he immediately gets on the defense. And he then starts to then get snappy for what she's bringing to him. And the one thing that I said to him, which is what I'd want everyone to know, is, especially the men, is it's not about you. It's about them and what they're bringing to you. So when you remove the whole premise of when they come to you with a problem, that, I'm now making a mistake, I'm now the problem, I'm now not doing the right thing. If you remove that, it's not coming across as criticism or judgment. It's coming across that I'm feeling all these things and I do know why, but I also don't know deep down why. And I just want to explain what's coming up for me. That's not an invitation for you to already know what you want to say. It's not an invitation for you to then turn around and go, oh, but you do this and you do that. It's like, no, shut up, sit down and just listen and be present, because ultimately that's what is going to allow her to process whatever's coming up for her. And so that's why I wanted to share that for what men are needing to do. Yeah, that's what I'll say at that point.
So I'm hearing from the ladies that listen to this, and they'd be like, absolutely, thank you. This is all we've been wanting to, I guess, articulate and be heard about. But then, if they were to convey that to their partners, say they listen to this, but so it would be doing the work for the men?
Hey, it would be, they need to come to my event. Yes, no. But it would be something along the lines of like, hey, honey, there's been certain things that have been coming up for me emotionally that I haven't been able to truly understand myself and process, but I'd love to be able to sit down with you and bring it to you, not for you to even have any input or to try and fix anything. I just need to get it off my chest because it's quite heavy for me to carry. And I'd love you if you can just sit and just be present and just hear me out. Beautiful. And that's it. And then the man needs to understand that. And in return, and the way that I explain it is, for the men and for the women need to feel energetically that the man has walked into the conversation with his hand tied behind his back and he's given her a knife. And what I mean by that is, because the man has said, okay, come to me with whatever you need. You want to talk about something. Here's a knife first. Do as you please with it. And that energetically then goes, okay, he's trusting me now with this knife that I can strike him. I can slash him if I choose to, based on what I'm feeling emotionally. And I now have all the power and all the control in this conversation, in this dynamic. That would ensure that the feminine goes, I'm pretty safe in this situation, because his hands are tied behind his back, metaphorically. You don't want to have a conversation and tie your partner's hands behind your back. But for that's really challenging, because it's disarming for the masculine to protect himself as well. And so that's why when I talk about leading with vulnerability, it's understanding that your armor needs to be so strong out in the battlefield of business and the war of life, but when you come home, you need to remove the armor. But then when it comes to the emotional turmoil between men and women with conflict in relationships, you still need to be able to take that armor off and understand that a wound will heal. If you are to be struck, a wound will heal. But what won't be is them feeling like they're unsafe, because you still have your armor on in a conversation where they then feel like they need to be defensive and not to be openly expressive to truly get to the root cause and the bottom of processing everything that they need. But to come to the man, it needs to come across like you're not coming to him for a problem that is because of him, but more about a problem that you are experiencing that you don't want him to fix, but you want his support by him just being there. And the moment that you can start to support one another in learning this and educating one another, or finding the help, external help to support you in it, the game changes. And I haven't been as perfect as this in relationships before. I was always I'd always get defensive. It's because my childhood patterns and wounds were continuing to play out still that I didn't know. And they were then mirroring everything that I still needed to heal. And I don't believe we're 100% fixed, because when there's nothing broken about us, but what it means is we're still going to see the mirror version of us throughout the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And if you can see that and you can recognize that and you can appreciate that, then it's beautiful that it's coming up within your partner, within the relationship, because you then get to continue to grow and continue to develop as a woman and as a man. Yeah. But to get to that point, Michelle, is like, oh my God.
It's a lot. And it's a lot of like dusting off and, you know, feeling like there's bruises here and there metaphorically, and just choosing to get back up and go at it again lovingly and committedly. And I think what you said with how it's always reflecting and mirroring back our childhood wounds, like I think what we respond with and our reactions, we know very well that a lot of it is, and the defensiveness or the reactions is coming from the things that we are harboring or still needing to process the rest of it from our childhood and what we've seen reflected and what we've inherited without us being conscious of that. And, you know, I still to this day, I'll see some things that I say and I'm just like, oh, that was a mum thing, wasn't it? And it's interesting. You can see it, not mean to like pin it on her. And it's now your responsibility to address it. You can't be like, hey, that's mum, poor me. It's like, cool. That's just simply I recognize that now it's my responsibility to actually take ownership of it and heal that, so it's not getting passed on. And if you can just take those cues in how you react and what you're choosing to hear unconsciously in what your partner is saying back to you, you can start to then, I don't know, find that common ground of choosing to want to understand each other instead of wanting to be understood.
Yeah, and I think the other phrase is be more interested rather than interesting.
Yeah, that's beautiful and it's true. And I think I just know, and I see it through my line of work all the time, just there is such a pent up of like, there's this that like they've banked up all the things and all the resentment that's compounded over the years that it doesn't give them much capacity to hold that space for them. Do you know what I mean? Like I think there's been time and time again, they've kind of just unbeknowingly just chalked it up on the chalkboard, like all the things that have been said, or the things that have been unheard, or the things that build up that when the partner wants to share or connect, it's just like, oh, I roll again, or something on the lines of that it's just, I don't know. What would you suggest in that? Like
Let it go. Let it go. Accept it. If I think about a past relationship where I went through and did like mediation with a coach and sat down and we elicitated our values, we elicitated our wants, our needs, our desires, what we wanted, how we wanted to experience it, how it would look like, what it would feel like, all the things. And then we gave it a timeline. The one thing that was part of that sort of mediation process that I think all partners should be going through is whatever happened and we can't change it. And therefore, if we continue to then feed it, it's only going to continue to exist if we continue to choose to give it energy, give it power.
Yeah,
and it's
totally.
like, okay, well, we were doing the best we could back then. We had no awareness. I had no understanding of this. You had no understanding of that. You're still growing. I'm still growing. I was hurting. You were hurting. So are we going to forgive ourselves and one another to realize that we're just making it up as we go along and we're just doing the best we can? Yes. And do we actually want to fight for this? And do we actually want to work with this? Because if you don't, and if one of us doesn't, then that has to be the end. That has to be the turning point. And I think there's a big difference in what we perceive as commitment nowadays compared to marriage till death do us part. And to then all relationships that are moving in line with their faith with God, and then all these other dating and situationships and friendships and all these other different layers in modern society. It's confusing, but also I think it's just showcasing for us that we may have then developed a fear of commitment along the way, not because of our fear of being hurt from previous relationships, but also how we're showing up in our own life of fear and commitment because we can't commit to ourselves and what we want and what we need to do to follow through and what we say we'll do. So I think it's part of the parcel of how you do one thing is how you do everything, and your level of commitment to self is also then your level of commitment to others. So I think it all starts with us. And
so true. My gosh, you nailed that. It's because it absolutely is. And I think many can absolutely relate in that space where it's the commitment to self, really. Like how much are you truly willing and ready to look within and really find that intimacy within yourself and own the things that you say that you're going to do and the things that you know you're here to do and what it takes to get that done, and for you to really show up vulnerably and authentically in that space. And it's very easy to then, I guess, defer that and then have it replicated within your relationships or any other area of your life. But it's easy to fixate on those external situations and believe that they're the issue or something else is the issue, when really it's
you.
Us. Well, sorry, guys.
Yeah, sorry but not sorry.
Sorry but not sorry, because this is the opportunity, right?
It is.
It's too good. It's too good.
It's like when for me, there has to be a turning point in when is enough enough? When are you going to draw the line in the sand? Not about the relationship, but about like the standard that you're willing to accept, about how you're showing up, about what you're not doing. And the moment that you start to then focus on what you're not getting in the relationship, I believe, is when you start to then see the downfall of the relationship compared to when you first started in the relationship. You're always forgiving. You're always wanting to ensure that you're doing the best you could. And there was I can't remember who said it, but it was, I will take care of you by me taking care of myself for you. And I thought that, and it sat with me for a little bit, where what happens if everyone has this belief about, the relationship's 50-50. You do your part, I do my part, and we meet in the middle. I believe it's 100-100, where the person is coming in whole and two people are connecting that are living in their truth, in their true purpose, in their true calling. And that's what creates that unity. When I think we're still living in our wounds and we're still then finding our feet, which is fine. You can always, and I think this is a full segue just for this one point, that people believe that they need to, there's a certain amount of work that they need to do before they can get into a relationship. And that there's like this blueprint or this like checklist of, I've done this amount of therapy, I've done this amount of counseling, I've done this amount of inner work. It's like, unfortunately, it's when you are completely clear in what it is that you want and what it is that you need and what you will tolerate and what your non-negotiables are and what your values are. When you're clear on that person of who you are and how you want to live your life and what you want to be giving to a relationship, then it then comes down to the fact that the true work will begin when you're in the relationship.
Yeah.
Because it's then consistent. And I think it's like personal development. You never stop. It's continuous. You're unlearning and relearning what you were taught when you were growing up as a child. So it's challenging.
It really is. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So before we kind of round this out and talk about something incredible by the end of the year, where would you like to see relationships get to?
Where would I like to see relationships get to? Oh man, if there was a statistic, you'd probably want to look at the divorce rate dropping significantly. I would want to see that there is more of a conscious effort amongst men and women wanting to break generational trauma and cycles. How to actually measure that in a tangible way would have to be the statistic of marriage breakdowns for sure. And where would I see it though? If it was a visual sort of example, just both men and women feeling free, I think would be the case. It's not, you haven't just walked into a relationship to feel like you've just stepped into a prison where you feel like you can't be the version of who you want to be. The person that is right for you will accept all parts of you, dark and light. And I think that's the hard part, because most of us don't actually want us to accept the dark parts within ourselves and to shine light on that for other people to either see or for them to know about, which is why we guard ourselves and we hold ourselves back in certain elements of us living in relationships and in life, because we don't want people to see the true version of who we are. And the moment that I believe, then that's why we wear masks in our events, is the moment you can start to remove the masks that you've been continuing to wear through life is when you start to then feel truly seen. And when you start to feel truly seen, that's when you then feel free in your ability to express however you want and be you. Being you is scary though, because who is you in the end? And that's the hard part, because we've always pretended potentially to be someone that we think society and our family and friends and partner want to be. But in the end, when it's just you and you alone, who are you at the end of the day? Is
And that's the whole point of this podcast. It's like beautiful subconscious coming home to yourself. And it's just like we've spent a lot of times masking, like you said, or running or being anywhere other than at home with who we are. And to be in a place, say a metaphorical room with just you and you, that can be quite confronting initially, but the most safest, most beautiful, most vulnerable and loving space. And I feel like that's would be my dream, is for everyone to get to that point. It would be the most ultimate. So we've got some fun things coming up. We've got a beautiful, powerful thing coming up. So please tell everyone about the Reconnection Summit.
Yeah, so it's been a vision for us for the military immersions that we run and the mastermind, the community that we have. We haven't actually given back to the women of our community, so the partners of the men that come through, but also for the extension for the men and the women who may not have been exposed to the events yet or haven't applied for my programs yet. And so connecting with you, it made complete sense for us to join forces.
We knew that from the moment we met, though.
100%. Was to give back to the community and then wider community for what we are calling it to be the Reconnection Summit. And what that is it's going to be a full day with yourself, with myself and our other facilitators from our event to be able to guide men and women through all of the communication, expression and relationship dynamic teachings that we both know to help them reconnect for their relationship to set the year up for 2025, but it culminates to showcase the love and the connection and the beauty of dressing up for a masquerade gala ball on the evening. And it's all happening on the Sunshine Coast on the 7th of December on the Saturday. So if anyone is interested, they can go to curtistofa.com/reconnection and there'll be some information about it and they can apply to get in touch and have a chat to see if it's a good fit for you and your partner or for you and your girlfriends or for you and your mates, for the guys that will listen, because it's an open floor for everyone to get familiar with our mission, get familiar with what it truly means to be a man and a woman in modern society, and ultimately to celebrate life and love and the success that you've been able to create up until now. So I'm super excited and I can't wait for it.
I'm pumped.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be able to do this with you. And I think anyone that listens to this, please reach out and just find the information, because what Curtis really embodies, like from the moment I met him, it was a profound experience of he can simply just read between the words. And I know we can both do that for each other, but there was an instance that I remember I was saying probably something.
Yeah, I remember this.
You remember that conversation. And I think I was saying it in a way about a past relationship. And I think there was words of being said of, it's fine. Like that's not really where I want to be in terms of, I'm not getting all vulnerable now, but I think it was in relation to having a child and, just your response and the space that you held. And it was just like, for the right man who can support and hold you, you'll feel safe and wanting and willing to be able to do that if that's what you want. And I'm just like, all right, well, now I feel really, really seen. So he's got a brilliant way, and for the men that he supports, it is already such a big movement, and it's an honor. And being a mother of a son, it's just the most inspiring thing. And it's an honor for me to be able to help the women who get to support these men, because I know you very deeply, and to be able to hold that space for you, and also the men, and help, bridge a deeper connection is what we're all here to do. So I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
So good. Well, I could talk forever, and we'll do it at another date. But
yes, thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming. Thank you so much. So if this episode has resonated with you, we would love for you to share it with someone who you feel like you could benefit. And if you haven't already, obviously leave a review, tag us in some things. Curtis Tofa is the Insta handle that you will find this incredible gentleman on. And absolutely, if you are ready and willing to dive deeper into mastering your your relationships, reconnecting with yourself or your partner, join us at the Reconnection Summit on the 7th of September. It's on the sunny coast, guys. Like, it's not, there's no better backdrop. So thank you again, Curtis.
Much love. Thank you for having me.
Much love to you. Until then, live it liberated and come home to yourself.
Audience exclusive.